great time with my beloved St. Louis Cardinals, now gearing up for the NFL season. Play and win at Underdog using promo code Glover to score $50.
This is the Verizon Extra Innings Show. Verizon, the most reliable 5G in St. Louis.
Mason swings and he pops it up. Short center field. O'Neal Cruz coming in. He's under it. He has it. And this ball game has come to an end. The Pirates scored 5 times in the first inning on the way to an 8-3 victory.
That's a frustrating game tonight. Cardinals lose to the Pirates 8-3, 4-game series even at 1 game apiece. Frustrating part is the fact that, as John had just said, voice the Cardinals, John Rudy just said, that the Pirates scored 5 runs in the first inning and never really looked back. It never really felt like this was much of a game after the Cardinals got themselves down in that hole in the first inning. And Andre Pallante did not look good. I guess you give him credit for putting up zeros in the 4th and 5th, but the damage was done. And Pallante simply was not good enough tonight, giving up 8 runs, 7 earned on 8 hits in 5 innings. He's a guy who pitches to contact. And as Oliver Marmol said earlier, if you pitch to contact, you got to get outs on that contact, and that was not happening this evening for Pallante. Welcome into the Extra Innings Show here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. Appreciate you being with us. The Extra Innings Show is presented by Gray Bar. Gray Bar is your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. If you want to join the show, you can do so by calling or texting 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. You can also tweet at me if you'd like, at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. Or for those of you who are watching the show on the video stream, you can just leave a comment in the chat, and we'll get to some of those as we go along throughout the course of the program this evening after a tough one for the Cardinals. There's not a whole lot to say. We'll talk. If you want to chime in, if you've got stuff to say, I'll certainly have the conversation with you. But the bottom line on this one is that Pallante just wasn't good enough, and the numbers for him recently are bad. He's got a 9.82 ERA in the month of August. That's over 5 starts. In 22 innings over 5 starts, he's allowed 25 runs on 34 hits. He has an average against of 358 and a whip above 2. The numbers are ugly. And I don't know what the answer is. I'll tell you this. I think I'd be not shocked, but I'd be a little bit surprised if Pallante makes his next start. Just listening to Oliver Marmol speak after the game, and let me be clear, these exact same words came out of my mouth at one point regarding Eric Fedde, and Fedde made his next start. So my track record on this year is not spot on. I'll just tell you that right now. But, and I also think that was the case of the manager wanting one thing and maybe somebody else wanting something else. So maybe that's the case here. Maybe Ollie sees that it's best for Pallante to get some sort of break, whether that's going to Memphis, whether that is just skipping his start, whether that's putting an opener in front of him. Like, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. I get the sense that one of those things is likely to happen. John sends in a message and says Pallante has to be moved to Memphis to retool. Surely we have an arm there that the Cardinals could use to compete better. Yeah, they do. I think I've been talking about this for a while. I like with Nathan Church, you put together a good AAA season, you get rewarded with the opportunity to get to the big league when an opportunity presents itself. I believe in those type of things, and I look down at AAA. And I see a guy in Curtis Taylor who never has really been a prospect, not a guy that's going to come up to the big leagues and be a superstar or anything like that. But he's somebody who's put together a really, really good season at AAA. And I'd love to see him get an opportunity at the big league level. They recently signed Aaron Wilkerson. Wilkerson's a guy with good big league time, and he's done mostly a nice job at Memphis recently. If there is a scenario where, Miles Michael is struggling, and with Pallante struggling, and with Matthew Liberatore struggling, if there's a scenario where whether guys go on the injured list, whether guys go to Memphis, whatever it might be, and you get those two guys up in Wilkerson and Taylor, I'd be interested in that. I'd also be interested in that because they really don't have the 40-man implications that, say, a Quinn Matthews does. You call up a Quinn Matthews, you're out into the 40-man roster, and then that takes away some offseason flexibility. With Wilkerson and Taylor, they're off the 40-man roster at the end of the season in all likelihood. So it doesn't tie you up from a 40-man standpoint the way somebody else was. So I'd be interested in that. I would contend, and I could be wrong on this, just based off the production that you've gotten recently from those guys that I mentioned, where they're performing at below a replacement player level. Curtis Taylor and Aaron Wilkerson, see what you got in the guys. I don't know. I think they could blow up on you. They could have terrible starts. It could look exactly the same, or they could maybe be something. And look, there's people in the Cardinals organization that know a lot more than I do. Let's be very clear on that. And especially with the folks that they have brought into the organization this year, all the new individuals. So I have a lot of trust in the evaluation right now of what's going on with minor leaguers, but just I would be curious to see Wilkerson and Taylor get some sort of opportunity before this season comes to an end. 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet me at Matt Pauley on air. Let's grab Randy, who has given us a call. Hey, Randy, you are on the Extra Innings Show.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing all right.
Okay, I got a couple questions real quickly. Can you give me an update on Arenado when he'll be back? And will we see JJ up here on September the 1st?
Yeah, appreciate the phone call. Quick answer on both those things. Arenado is down in Florida going through the rehab process. Still absolutely no timeline on him. He hasn't appeared in any games down there. Information about him has been somewhat scant. So the old gun to the head, if I had to, make a prediction on Arenado, I don't think we see him again this year. I could be wrong. And we'll, if his shoulder responds well, I think it's a little bit odd that they've got him down in Florida going through the rehab process. But that's where it's at. And not odd in the sense of if you really want to get him back quickly, as opposed to this being a longer term type thing. So when they sent him down to Florida, I thought, man, I don't know if we'll see Arenado this year. I don't think we'll see JJ Weatherholt come up at the end. Again, that's kind of what I was just talking about a moment ago. They've shown no indication that they're going to be jumping to put him on the 40-man roster. And look, the optics of that, not great. I get it. I understand why fans want to see JJ Weatherholt. I also, and too much is made of this. Like they got a bunch of guys on the 40-man that if all of a sudden they just didn't have them anymore, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So when we start invoking the 40-man roster, we're probably making too much of it than we actually should. At the same time, I am understanding of the flexibility that they would like to have on the 40-man roster going into Chaim Bloom's first season in control of the Major League roster. And I think a lot of people should be rooting for that. You can be rooting to see JJ Weatherholt this year, and I get that, and I understand it, and it's legitimate because it's exciting to know that guy is just one step down, and he's got star written all over him. And the sooner you see him, the better it's going to be. And I've talked about the Mason Wynn treatment, where Wynn got the chance to come up for the final month of the season and get his major league feet wet. So he was off and running in spring training. I'm not telling you there's not value in that. There is value in that. But the idea that this being an off season where you want to have as much 40-man flexibility as possible for Chaim Bloom, just to keep that, that proverbial palate as clean as possible. I think there's value in that as well. So I understand the route that they are going down. 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air. We'll take a break. We got more coming up in just a moment. It's the Extra Innings Show. After a tough Cardinals loss today, they fall to the Pirates 8-3. Back with more in a moment here on KMOX.
You are a successful electrical contractor, but you plus a dedicated team supporting your project from day one? That's taking your productivity to the next level. And Graybar can help you get there. Your relationships plus our relationships. Your capabilities plus our job site services. Your challenges plus our technical specialists. You alone can get the job done. But you plus Graybar, that's smart business. Yep, Graybar does that.
At BOS, we help you bank boldly. Because sometimes life throws bold moments at you. Like noticing someone used your debit card to buy 100 party store gift cards? That's a lot of party supplies. Don't worry though, BOS has your back when there's suspicious activity on your account. And we work fast to address any fraudulent charges. Are you ready for a better banking experience? Then make the bold move and switch to BOS today. Visit bankwithbos.com. Member FDIC.
There's a big red barn where you save green. Norm's Bargain Barn. Discount windows, doors, and things. Norm's Bargain Barn.
Hi, I'm Norm Wilkie. Come see my new selection of Amish cabinetry made by my good Amish friends at Countrywood Products. We now stock 5 styles of cabinetry for you to choose from.
When you need to save on discount windows, doors, and cabinetry, come to Norm's Bargain Barn. With locations in Shiloh and Fenton at the bottom of Gravois Bluffs. Visit normsbargainbarn.com.
That's normsbargainbarn.com.
Hey, facility managers. At Graybar, we're not just one of the largest distributors of electrical and datacom parts in North America. We're your connection to help make your buildings smarter. We work with best-in-class manufacturers to supply products for wireless, security, renewable energy, lighting, and critical power solutions. And we have a network of integrators nationwide that can help make it work all together. So, the next time you're thinking about making your building smarter, think Graybar, and we'll help you get connected. Visit graybar.com/connected buildings to learn more.
Now, back to the Verizon Extra Innings Show.
Tough night for the Cardinals. They lose to the Pirates 8-3, the final. Tougher night for Andre Palante, who really struggled in his 5 innings, giving up 8 runs, 7 earned on 8 hits, again, in those 5 innings. The Extra Innings Show, it is being presented in part by Graybar. Graybar is your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Want to chime in? You can do so by calling or texting 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. You can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air. You can leave a comment in the chat. Sam asks a question: why did Ali not pull Palante earlier when down 5-0? We talk about this a lot. It's resource allocation. You don't want to blow out your bullpen for a game that you have a low probability of winning. And people always push back when I say this, but say, but you have to try to win every game. Well, you don't want to lose tomorrow's game trying to win today's game, which you're probably not going to win. And that doesn't mean that the Cardinals can't come back in games like these. But if you're going to come back in a game like this, it's going to take maybe some guys in kind of that B group of your bullpen really performing well, which they did. And how hitters perform can be connected to the state of the game, right? Like you're probably going to you might get some, I use the word probably, I'm going to back off probably. You might get better at bats in a game that's 8-7 than a game that's 8-3. I think that's just human nature, but you don't want to, and Palante's got a little bit of a track record here recently of having tough starts and then kind of, meandering back into it after that. So I understand the frustration. I really do, Sam. I don't think it's a bad question. I just think that you don't want to allocate resources that's going to hurt you tomorrow and the next day in a game that by that point, in all likelihood, you're not going to win. Like there is a reason the Cardinals have such a bad run differential and have actually won as many games as they have. It's because you don't put in the resources in the games that you are likely not to win. And I think Oliver Marmol is pretty good at making those decisions. Have there been times this year where they've kind of gone into that B bullpen and the team has still come back and won a game? Like, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's not likely. It happens a couple times, handful of times a year. And it's not something that I think you especially play for, if that makes sense. Let's grab a couple text messages that have come in. Says, I think we've seen enough of Andre Palante's runway season. Shelve him until next season because he always pitches well in even numbers. Check out his 2022 and 2024 numbers compared to 2023 and 2025. Might be a Cy Young winner in 2026. Again, I think something's going to change moving forward. Text message from the 701 says if they skip Palante's next start innings will be hard for. Yeah, you're right, 100%. And that's why if you skip his next start, it might be a situation where he goes down to Memphis. A text message from the 636 asks whether or not a DFA is a possibility. I don't think it is. You've got minor league options on the guy. He showed last year in the second half of the season what he can do. I would not. This is not an Eric Fetty situation. This is not even a Miles Michaelis situation. This is very different. It's still a guy who's relatively young, and you give him every opportunity to come out of this. It's just he's in a really, really bad spot here at the moment. Walt asks an interesting question and says, is the relief pitcher shuttle running out of bullets in Memphis? The depth of relief pitching was obviously impacted when they made the moves that they made at the deadline. And they've brought in some players, they lose Matz and Helsley, walk out the door, as does Maton. And since then, Akala, who pitched tonight and was fine, he's in here. Veneziano is another guy. He's at AAA right now. He's come into the organization. But yeah, the relief pitching depth, that was very much a strength of this team. I wouldn't say it's not a strength, but I would say it's not as strong as it was before. That's for sure. You'd like Chris Roycroft to get things going again at AAA, and he's been kind of hit or miss there recently. But yeah, Walt, that's a good point. And I think we knew that was going to happen when those changes occurred at the trade deadline, that you were trading away from a position of strength. Text message from the 812, interesting text here, says, I don't think 2025 was long enough to make a decision on Walker, Gorman, Scott. I think this reset has to go into next year. Steve sent that message. Yeah, especially with Jordan Walker. This is one area that I push back on some things that Oliver Marmol has said, because especially in his Gas House Gang conversations that he has on Tuesdays, he's talked a lot about really needing to figure out who Jordan Walker is this year. I respectfully say you're not going to. You're just not. And Walker is a guy who's still developing. He's still a young guy. We see very often where bigger, taller players take a longer time to stabilize themselves and establish themselves as big leaguers. So when the season got started, you could have said in a perfect world, in a utopia, that yeah, you figure out what you have in Jordan Walker this year. I don't think it's going to happen. And so I'm not ready to throw Walker away based on, let's just say he finishes out the final month plus of the season, basically what he's done all year this year. I'm not going to throw him out. I'm not going to make this final decision on him. I leave the door open for him to continue to develop, and I think that's likely to happen. I would answer the question a little bit differently on Nolan Gorman, and to be quite blunt with you, I think we're seeing the real Nolan Gorman right now. And when you really get into his numbers, he's been pretty good for a while. Like, this is not a last 2 week sort of situation. Here, let me I'll run some numbers for you when it comes to Gorman, because he's been pretty good here recently. And not just recently, but for a while, going back to really May or so. Sorry, I'm having a computer issue where I normally run numbers, and I'm trying to get to what I am trying to get to, but we'll get that to you here in just a second. Yeah. Okay. So let's just do from May 1st. From May 1st, he's got a 785 OPS. That's good. That's good. He's never going to be a big batting average guy, but you got to be able to look past batting average and look at the other numbers. Since May 1st, he has a 785 OPS, has 12 home runs during that time. He's going to strike out. I get that. But the strikeout numbers aren't terrible. 73 strikeouts and 210 bats. Like, not good, but not terrible. He's He's getting on base a little bit more as well. So I like what we're seeing from Nolan Gorman. If Nolan Gorman can be a 785 OPS guy over 162 games, take it. That's a ball player that helps you win games. And people who get all upset because he's gonna be a 240 hitter, people get upset because he's gonna strike out. Like, I push back on that. I push back. And this is not a small sample size. This is since May 1st. And in May, he hit 189. I know I said don't talk about average, and with a 505 OPS. So here, let's run the numbers since June 1st. It's going to be even better. And this is still this is almost 3 months worth of time. Now, there was some time on the injured list for him, but since June 1st, he's a 250 hitter with an 840 OPS, the 12 home runs. So yeah, I'm very comfortable with what we're seeing right now from Nolan Gorman. I am. Got a message saying, I do agree about Nolan Gorman. You put Gorman at third all season long. You see him hitting 40 home runs. Yeah, that's the kind of player he is. And I think we should be very, very encouraged by what we have seen from Nolan Gorman here, especially since June 1st. It's been pretty darn good. What's on Deck is presented by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign you have the very best, chesterfieldfence.com. Sonny Gray is going to make the start tomorrow, 6:45 first pitch, and that means our coverage is going to begin at 5:50. Appreciate you being tuned in to the show today. Cardinals lose, certainly a tough loss. We will talk to you again tomorrow for more Cardinals baseball starting at 5 o'clock with the Redbird Rush Hour right here on KMOX.
The following program has been pre-recorded.